Good morning. Today we are going to continue solving equations with variables on both sides. But today we're going to add in one more additional step. So let's take a look. Okay. If you look here, we have 5 steps that we're going to go through. Yesterday, we only had 4 steps. Okay. If you look at this example that I have here, something is new that was not on yesterday's equations. What we have here is parentheses. When you see parentheses and you can't simplify what's inside the parentheses, we probably what's called have to do the distributive property. Okay, so in this example, you're going to have to distribute on the left side and also on the right side. Okay, so once you do the distributive property, then we're back to where we were yesterday, where you're going to combine your like terms on the same side of your equal sign if needed. Then you're going to add or subtract the variable terms to move them to the same side if needed by taking the smaller variable term to the larger variable term. And again, that is a one long sentence that you're not really going to remember, other than you need to take the variable terms from one side to another. And an easy way for us to remember that is that the baby bear wants to meet the mama bear. Okay. And then after you do that, then you're going to use inverse operations to add or to subtract. And then you're going to use inverse operations to multiply or to divide. Okay. These are our final 5 steps that we're going to use to solve an equation with variables on both sides. So let's take a look at just a review example that I have on the next slide here. We're going to just review before we add in the distributive property part. Okay. So going back to what we talked about yesterday. All right, we always draw our line going down through the middle. If I look here, look on my left side, look on my right side. The only thing that I can do on my left side here is to combine my 6x and my 3x. Those are my variable terms that I'm allowed to combine. And over on my right side, I have 2 terms that don't have a variable. Those are my constant terms, so I can add my 10 and my 8 together. And when I do that, on the left side, I have 9x. Okay, I have 9x because 6x and 3x is 9x. I bring down my minus 6. And then I have on my right side 5x plus 18 because I have a 10 and an 8, which brings it down to 18. At this point, this is where the baby bear, mama bear comes into play. And again, if you take a look at your variable terms, you have a 9x and you have a 5x. And if you look at your coefficients, the numbers that come before the variable, my 5 is smaller, so my 5x is going to go over to my 9x. When you take anything across the equal sign, that's when it becomes its opposite. So we're going to subtract 5x from both sides. And 9x minus 5x gives me 4x. I bring down the negative 6 and I bring down the 18. Next step is we're going to solve this 2-step equation here by adding inverse operations. This is a minus 6, so I'm going to add 6 to both sides. Okay, and then the negative 6 and positive 6 cross out. And then you're left with 4x equals 24. And you're going to divide by 4. And the reason why we're dividing is because this is 4 times 4 multiplied by x. So to get rid of multiplication, you have to divide both sides. And then your final answer is x equals 6. Okay. And again, you can put your answer back up into the original equation wherever you see the x term, and the left side and the right side should be equal. All right, now let's get into the very last step with the distributive property here. Okay, so let's look at a new question. All right, if you look at my left side here, it says 3x minus 8, and my right side says 2 parentheses x minus 4. For this problem, I cannot combine what's inside my parentheses, x minus 4. So that means that I have to do the distributive property. Okay. Distributive property means over here on the right side, I have to do 2 times x and 2 times negative 4. Okay. And when you do that, 2 times x is 2x and 2 times negative 4 is a -8. You have to make sure you use that subtraction sign with that as a negative. So 2 times -4 is a -8. And I didn't do anything on my left side because there's nothing here to do. So I just brought down the 3x and I just brought down the -8. And now this is the baby bear, mama bear step. Okay. So if you look at this problem here, I have a 3x and I have a 2x. So the 2x is the baby bear and I need to take it over to the mama bear, the 3x. Okay. When you take it over, the equal sign has to become its opposite. So minus 2x. And 3x minus 2x is a 1x. I bring down my -8, and I also bring down the -8 that I am left with over on the right side. And now my next step is to use inverse operations to add or to subtract. So I want to take this -8 over to the other side by making it a +8. So -8 and a +8 cross out. I bring down the 1x. And then -8 and a +8 is a 0. You have to put the 0 there. Okay. Last step is to divide because this is 1 multiplied by x. To get rid of multiplication, you have to divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by 1. And my final answer is x equals 0. 0 divided by 1 is 0. Okay. And you can substitute that back into your original equation, and the left side and the right side should be equal. And we can walk through that step real quick here. Okay, so we said that x is equal to 0. So in your equation, we have 3x minus 8 equals 2, and then x minus 4, right? So if I put the 0 in, that's 3 times 0, which is 0, and 0 minus 8 is -8. That's what I get on the left side, on the left side. On the right side here, I have 2 times 0 minus 4. Well, in parentheses, 0 minus 4 is -4, and 2 times -4 is -8, and -8 equals -8. Okay? All right, let's take a look at a few more examples. So if I look at this example here, number 3, I have my left side and my right side. And if you look at your left side, you see the parentheses, and the same on the right side. So it looks like we have to do 2 sets of distributive properties. Okay, on the right side here, on the left side, I have 5 times x and 5 times 1. And on the right side, I have 2 times x and 2 times 10. Okay, so when you distribute, on the left side, you get 5x plus 5. And on the right side, you get 2x plus 20. And now this is the part of the baby bear, mama bear, because I can't do anything else here on the left side. I can't add 5x and 5 together. There's no other variable term or constant term to combine with it. And on the right side here, 2x plus 10, there's nothing else I can do at that point. That's when we take the baby bear, mama bear. So if you look, you have a 5x and then you have a 2x. The 2x is smaller, so take the 2x over to the 5x. And when you take anything over your equal sign, you always have to make it its opposite. So I take the 2x over, so that becomes 5x minus 2x. And the 2x and the -2x on the right side cross out. So we are left with 3x plus 5 equals 20. And guys, at this point, you should know that the next step then is, this is your 2-step equation from here. You're going to subtract 5 from both sides. Okay. The -5 and the +5 crossed out. You bring down the 3x. 20 minus 5 is the -15. Actually, that should be a +15. All right, so let's get rid of that negative there. It should be a positive. And then at the next step, I want to divide. I'm going to divide both sides by 3. And so your answer then, 15, that's a +15. 15 divided by 3 is a 5. And again, made a little mistake there. That should be a +5. And if you want to substitute it back in to make sure that it makes sense and that it works, it will. Okay. If you need to rewind, fast forward through this, Go for it. Make sure though, guys, whenever you are solving these problems on your assignments that you are writing these problems down. These are very hard to do in your head. Take out a piece of paper, napkin, whatever you need to do, and write these problems down and go through your steps, and always double check your work. Okay, let's take a look at another problem. Number 4 here. Okay, I have my left side and my right side. On my left side, there's nothing I can do with my negative 3x and my negative 32 here. I can't do anything. But on my right side, I see the parentheses, which means I need to distribute. When I distribute, I need to distribute that negative 2. I'm going to distribute it to the 5 and to the negative 4x. When I do that, I have on the right side here, negative 2 times 5 is negative 10, and negative 2 times negative 4 is a positive 8x. And like I said, I didn't do anything over here on my left side, so I just bring down the negative 3x and I bring down the negative 32. Now, what's our next step? Should I add or subtract? Do I do another distributive property? Do I combine like terms? Well, if you look here on the left side, there's nothing I can combine. And on the right side, there's nothing I can combine. Okay, so I can't do my step 2. That's not needed. So now my step 3 is the baby bear, mama bear step. So if I take a look, I have a negative 3x and I have a positive 8. It looks like the negative 3 is smaller than the positive 8. So my baby bear is negative 3, and I need to take it over to the positive 8. So then I'm going to add 3x to both sides. Again, when you take something over, when you take a term across your equal sign, you always have to make it its opposite. Since this was a negative 3x, you have to take it and make it a positive 3x. And you're only adding it to the variable terms on the other side. Okay, you cannot take it to the negative 10 or 32. Variable term to a variable term. Okay, so then I bring down my negative 32. You have to remember that negative there. And I bring down my negative 10, and 8x plus 3x is 11x. Okay, and from this step, now it looks like we're on step 4 where I'm going to add or subtract. I need to keep my 11x there. So I want to get rid of this negative 10. In order to get rid of that negative 10, I need to take it across the equal sign. And when you take it across, you have to do the inverse. So the inverse of minus 10 or subtracting 10 is to add 10. So I want to add 10 to both sides. And negative 32 plus 10 is negative 22. I bring down the 11x. And then my last step is to divide by my coefficient of 11. So I'm going to divide both sides here by 11. And so your answer is negative 2 equals x. If you're unsure if you answered the problem correctly, you can always substitute it back in, or just to double check your work, substitute it back in. Okay, I have about 4 more problems to go through with you. If you want to start your assignment, you can continue watching this. All right, let's take a look at another problem. So on the left side here, I have 5 minus 2 parentheses 3 minus x equals 4x plus 11. Well, on the left side, I have parentheses. So it looks like I have to do the distributive property. Well, should I take 5 minus 2 first and subtract those? No. Okay. The order of operation says we have to do parentheses first. You are not going to subtract before you multiply. So what number am I going to distribute? Not just the 2, but the negative 2. You're going to distribute negative 2 to the 3 and negative 2 to the negative x. And again, if you're like, well, what number is before the x? Well, you could put a 1 there. Okay. So when you do that on the left side, because that's the only thing we can do here, I bring down my 5. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6, and negative 2 times negative 1 is a positive 2x. Now, at this point, I can see that I don't just have 2 terms on my left side and my right side. If you look at your left side, you have a 5 and a negative 6 that needs to be combined together first before taking anything across the equal sign. So I need to take this 5 minus 6 first and combine those two together. And 5 minus 6 gives us -1. And then I bring down the 2x, bring down the 4x, bring down the 11. Okay, so I distributed. That was my first step. My second step then is I combine my like terms over on this left side. And now my third step is to take the baby bear to its mama bear. I need to combine my variable terms. So if you look here, you have a 2x and you have a 4x. The 2x is your baby bear, and you're going to take it over across the equal sign. When you take it across the equal sign, that's when you take the opposite value. So this is a +2. So to take it across the equal sign, you want to make it a -2. And you're only taking it to the other variable term on the other side. So what happens here then is we bring down the -1, the 2x and the -2x cross out, 4x minus 2x is a 2x, and we bring down the 11. At this point, we are now on our fourth step where we're going to get rid of this +11. I need to take that across the equal sign, this +11, I need to take it over to the other side. And when I take it across the equal sign, it becomes its opposite. So that's -11 on both sides. So -1 and a -11 is a -12, same sign, add and keep. And then I bring down my 2x. Okay, my last step, and all of these problems, the last step is to divide here. We set them up so that your last step is to divide. So I'm going to divide both sides here by 2. And your final answer is x equals -6. Okay. Stop and rewind that if you need to go through that one more time. Let's take a look at another one. And as you can see, they're getting a little bit harder as we go through, or hopefully they're just staying kind of easy because you're understanding this. Okay. So let's look at this one. This is a big one. So that's 2 parentheses 5x plus 2 minus 2x equals 3 parentheses 2x plus 3 equals 7. When you have a problem as long as this one, make sure you are separating it into the left side versus the right side. Make sure you draw that line going down. Okay, so let's take a look. I have parentheses. So we want to get rid of the parentheses first. And I have parentheses on both sides. So what is the number that I'm going to distribute? Well, I'm going to distribute the 2 over here on the left side, and I'm going to distribute the 3 over on the right side. And I'm only distributing it to the numbers that are inside the parentheses. So when I do that, on my left side, I am left with 10x plus 4, because that's 2 times 5 is 10x. 2 times 2 is 4. And then I just brought down my -2x. And then 3 times 2x is 6x, and 3 times 3 is 9. And I just brought down the 7. I didn't do anything else with that. Now, if you take a look, there's a lot of terms here on the left side. I have 3 terms on my left, and then I have 3 terms over here on my right side. Before we did the baby bear, mama bear, we only had a variable term and a constant term. So it looks like we have to combine something. So over on my left side, I want to combine my 10x and my -2x. Those are the terms that I'm allowed to combine over on my left side, right? Because those are the only ones that have a variable attached to it. And on my right side, I am only allowed to combine the +9 and the +7. So when you do that, you end up getting 8x plus 4 on the left side. And how did I get 8x? Because I took 10 minus 2, which is 8, and I brought down the 4. And then on the right side, I have 6x plus 16. And how did I get 16 there? Is because I added 9 and 7. Okay? Now, at this point, this is the baby bear, mama bear stuff. I have a variable term and a constant term, which I can't do anything else with. And on my right side, I have a variable term and a constant term that I can't do anything else with. So now this is when it's the baby bear, mama bear step, when you have to collect your variable terms on one side. So I'm going to take my 6x and my 8x and combine them. So the 6x needs to go over to the 8x because 6x is smaller. 6 is smaller than 8. When I do that, cross the equal sign, it becomes its opposite. So I take the -6x to both sides, And I'm left with 2x plus 4 equals 16. Okay, the 6x and negative 6x cross out, bring down the 16, bring down the 4, and 8x minus 6x is 2. So I distributed, I combined my like terms on both sides, and I did the baby bear, mama bear step. Now my fourth step is where we're at here is to subtract 4 from both sides. This is taking a two-step equation here, and I want to take this positive 4 to the other side because my end goal is to get this x all by itself. So to get rid of this positive 4 on the left, I need to make it a negative 4 on the left and the right. Okay, that needs to cross out. So then I'm left with 2x equals 12. 16 minus 4 is 12, and I bring down this 2x. Last step is to divide. Why am I dividing? Because this is 2 times x, 2 multiplied by x. To get rid of multiplication, you have to divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by my coefficient of 2, and I get x equals 6. That was a very long problem, but that is what you need to do. You need to first distribute, second combine, and those two steps, one might be eliminated if it's not needed. Okay, but here I had to distribute, I had to combine like terms, then I took my variable terms to each side, which is the baby bear, mama bear step, then I added or subtracted. Here I subtracted 4 from both sides, and then I divided by 2. So this is a 5-step equation. Okay, and again, if you need to rewind this, fast forward it, whatever you need to do, make sure you're understanding these problems. All right, let's go through 2 more problems. All right, I have one all by itself on a slide here. So if you look on my left side, put your line going down. On my left side here, I have negative 5 times 1 minus 5x plus 5 parentheses, negative 8x minus 2 equals negative 4x minus 8x. A lot going on here. Take a look at your left side. What should we do first? We want to distribute. So what am I going to distribute? You're going to distribute negative 5 times 1 and negative 5 times the negative 5. And you're going to distribute again, but with this positive 5. So you're going to distribute positive 5 to both terms inside. Okay. So my first step then, after I do that distributive property, I get negative 5 plus 25x because negative 5 times negative 5 is a positive 25x. Then 5 times negative 8 gives me negative 40x. And 5 times negative 2 gives me a negative 10. Okay, I didn't do anything over on my right side yet. Okay, first step, distribute. Second step is to combine like terms. Over on my left side, is there anything that I can combine over here that I'm allowed to? And the answer is yes. So on this left side here, I can combine this positive 25x and this negative 40x. I also am allowed to combine this negative 5 and this negative 10 together. Okay, so I can combine what I circled there in the pinkish color, the 25x and the negative 40x, and then the green, this negative 5 and negative 10. And if I take a look at my right side, I'm also allowed to combine this negative 4x and this negative 8x. So let's see what happens here. Okay, so positive 25x minus 40x gives me this negative 15x. Okay. And then negative 5 and negative 10 gives me negative 15. And then on my right side, negative 4x, negative 8x is negative 12x. Okay. So I distributed and then I combined on my left side and on my right side. Now what's my next step? My next step is the baby bear, mama bear. So if we take a look here, I have a negative 15x and I have a negative 12x. Well, negative 15 is smaller than negative 12, so I'm going to take this negative 15x over to the negative 12x. To do that, I'm going to add 15x to both sides. I bring down the negative 15, okay, because this negative 15 and positive 15 crossed out. I bring down the negative 15, and negative 12x and a positive 15x gives me the 3x. Okay, and my last step here because it's the only thing left to do now is to get the x by itself, I need to divide. And I'm going to divide here by positive 3. And when I divide by positive 3, your answer is x equals negative 5. Okay, if you need to stop, rewind that, go back over that problem one more time. But guys, all the steps are all the same. First, distribute. Second, combine like terms on the left side, combine like terms on the right side. Then the third step is to take the baby bear to the mama bear. The fourth step is adding or subtracting. And then the last step is to either multiply or to divide. All right, let's take a look at one more problem. And again, it is a lot, when these problems get a little bit more complicated, it's a lot easier to draw that line going down through the equal sign to separate your left side and your right side. All right, so let's take a look. What is my first step to do? My first step is to take and get rid of those parentheses. And I have parentheses on my left and on my right. So I want to take the negative 4 and distribute it on my left side and take the 3 and distribute it on the right side. And when I do that, I am left with negative 3x, I just bring down, and negative 4 times 4 is negative 16, and negative 4 times negative 8 is a positive 32. And then I distribute, when I distributed on the right side, 3 times negative 8x is a negative 24x, and 3 times negative 1 is a negative 3. At this point, you can see that you have 3 terms on the left side, which I need to combine something here. So what am I allowed to combine? I see that I have 2 terms that have a variable on it. So I have a negative 3x and I have a negative 16x. I want to combine those. So is there anything else I can combine? No. But on my right side, there's nothing else I can combine on that. So my next step is to take the negative 3x, negative 16x. I get negative 19x. And then I just brought down everything else. Okay. I bring down the 32. I bring down the negative 24x, and I bring down the negative 3. Okay. Now this is the baby bear, mama bear step. And if you take a look, I have negative 19 and a negative 24. All right, well, I want to take the baby bear, which is the negative 24x, over to the negative 19x. When I take it over, it becomes a positive 24x to both sides. So I am left with 5x plus 32 equals negative 3. All right. Negative 19 plus 24 is 5x. I bring down my 32 and I bring down that negative 3. And now this is just a general 2-step equation from this point. I want to get rid of this plus 32. So I want to subtract 32 from both sides. I bring down the 5x, and negative 3 and negative 32 is negative 35. This is your coefficient of 5, so it's 5 multiplied by x. To get rid of the 5, I need to divide by 5. So I'm going to divide both sides by 5, and your answer is x equals negative 7. Okay. Hopefully you're catching on to this, and it's just adding one additional step each day here. Okay. Distribute, combine, baby bear, mama bear step, which then makes it into a 2-step equation, and you should be fine from there, which is you're adding or subtracting and then multiplying or dividing. Okay. The next slide here that I have, if you look at the notes, the Google slide presentation, is just a link to a video. So you can watch another video on this that I found online that will also help you as well. Okay. Again, if you have any questions, email your teacher, come to office hours, 11 a.m. every Monday through Friday. Let us know what we can do. All right. Have a good day.